Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel on this cold winter day here in East Tennessee. It's the middle of January and we're expecting about 6 inches of snow today. So I thought I'd start my video off today with my beautiful Phal Legato, and we're going to talk about bud blast and premature bloom drop. This video idea was provided by my friend Sue, who had just watched my previous video about how to bring a new orchid home. I'll link that video in the description box, and I've pinned her comment. I just loved it. She was gifted an orchid that was purchased, and I'm going to read part of her comment. From a grocery store where the orchids and flowers stand are right next to the entrance, with hot air blasting out from the top and doors opening and closing every few minutes, blasting in cold air. I know exactly what she's talking about. One of the stores in our area has the same setup, and I don't buy orchids from them in the winter. The buds blast every time. So that's a major thing to take into consideration when you're buying an orchid in the winter. What type of environment are you taking it out of, and has it been taken care of well? So what is bud blast and what causes it? Bud blast occurs when there is a shock or a sudden temperature or humidity change to the orchid's environment. These sudden changes can cause a discrepancy between the outside and the inside temperature of the flower bud. It can also happen when buds and blooms are exposed to gases or chemicals, and that causes them to drop prematurely. So a good thing to keep in mind is to try to keep the temperature and humidity around your orchids as steady and constant as possible. After your orchids start budding or blooming, a sudden 10 to 15 degree temperature change, either cooler or warmer, can cause bud blast. Orchids in the wild go through very gradual temperature changes, and so it's wise to mimic those conditions in your home. Growing your orchids in drafty areas is a common cause of bud blast. It's a really common mistake. A lot of people do that. If you grow your orchids around your outside doors, then when you open them and it's cold outside, that blast of cold air can cause the buds to blast and the flowers to drop. So place your orchids in a more sheltered place away from outside doors in the winter to prevent this from happening. My sunroom doors and my kitchen windows in my house aren't open in the winter. Those are the areas where my orchids are growing, and so those windows and doors aren't used in cold weather. Kerosene or propane heaters or propane fireplaces produce ethylene gas that will cause all your buds and flowers to drop. A friend of mine had a propane fireplace, and she put all of her blooming orchids around it, thought it would be really pretty. And then the next day, all the buds had dropped. She couldn't figure out until I mentioned in one of my videos, and it clicked with her what happened. So if your fireplace burns propane, keep your orchids out of the room or very, very far away from the area where your fireplace is. Also, the gases emitted by fruit will cause bud blast. Surprising, but true. Don't place any fruit around your orchids. Right now, there are 4 orchids on my kitchen table, and if I place a bowl of fruit on the table for decoration along with them, the buds will all fall off. So my fruit is stored in my pantry far away from my kitchen table. Also, if an orchid has a damaged root system, if it has genetic problems, or if it's just a weak plant in general, it will sometimes drop its buds or blooms prematurely because it takes a lot of energy from the plant to spike and bloom. Sometimes the orchid just isn't strong enough to support the blooms, so it drops them. That's one of the main reasons to start with a healthy plant, because it's more likely to produce blooms for you in the future, and those blooms will last longer for you. Inadequate light or drastic changes in the light or weather will cause bud blast. That's what happened with my NOID I den Wilson. Right here, you see, it started blooming, and right as the buds started to open, we had several days of very low light. And along with that, the temperature and the humidity just changed. So that may have been part of the problem too. Then we had some sunny days, and suddenly it just led to the bud blast in this orchid. The weather just changed so drastically, the light changed drastically, and sometimes this happens. I don't like when this happens, but it happens. So here's some tips if your buds have already blasted. Don't remove the spike unless it is totally turned brown, because new buds can form on the spike. The spikes can elongate from the tips. They can also branch and produce more buds for you. Orchids really do want to bloom for you. It's their thing. I believe that they make up for bud blast when they can, and I've seen it happen many times in my collection. So I hope this video helps you all, and I wanted to let you all know I appreciate all of your awesome comments and your kind words and your friendship. And so thank you for inspiring this video. You all are just such a blessing to me. If there's any topic that you would like for me to cover in future videos, just let me know in the comment section below. And I'd love to say the blessing over you, your families, and your orchids. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn His face towards you and give you His shalom peace. You all make it a great day, and we'll see you next time.